Why do INFJ and so many highly sensitive people have such a trouble dealing with changes? Why do they hate changes so much and have trouble processing them? And this is not just with regards with the negative changes, the classic changes such as, I don't know, losing your job or going through, a breakdown of a certain relationship, but also the positive changes. And here's where I'm already dropping a bomb on you, because highly sensitive people have trouble processing any change. So also the things like happy changes, so getting married, having a child, or even getting a new job, or buying a house or something like that. These changes have almost identically high charge of throwing them off kilter, such as the negative ones that we all know are uncomfortable and very difficult to deal with. So, first of all, let me touch on how this difficulty manifests, because so many people that are highly sensitive are actually having trouble identifying that they have trouble dealing with a change in the first place. So when you are able to observe this by the examples I give you, you will be able to catch this when you are experiencing this showing up in your life, and then later do something with it. So how this manifests, it might look like going about business like nothing has happened. That's the biggest way it manifests. So let's say you have gotten a promotion, or maybe you've lost someone, whether that's a relationship that someone wanted to break up with you, or you broke up with someone, or maybe there was a change in relationship that threw you off, or perhaps it was something like obviously negative, such as being fired from a position in your workplace. And what highly sensitive people often might do, especially those more on unconscious side of the spectrum, is they go about business like nothing has happened. And this may look like doubling down on the responsibilities just to push through the demands that are manifesting. So maybe you are having some fatigue or emotions coming up, and you might be doubling down on your responsibilities. So if you are fired from your job, then you might be like, oh my God, now I have to find another one very fast. And you would be like going in writing your CVs or looking for the next positions really frantically, just to kind of cover up for this void that appears, cover up for this change and the sort of disruption that it produces in our life, because there is disruption and we can't hide it. We can't go about business and pretend like nothing has happened. So this is the major way this manifests. And if you can notice this in your life, maybe you moved and instead of processing the change, you are like, okay, now I just have to keep going, whatever I'm used to doing, and I'm not going to mind the major elephant in the room, like moving and having to adapt to a change, right? So this is how it manifests. I just really had to throw that in, because the reasons why it's so troubling for highly sensitive people will become so much clearer now that you know this. Before recording this episode today, I went in to look for this topic online. I just wanted to go on one article or two and see what other specialists are talking about this topic, why highly sensitive people have such a trouble dealing with the changes. And honestly, it wasn't sufficient for me. And that's why I thought, well, this is really going to be a different one for this reason, because of my experience of mind-body connection. The first of the two major reasons I want to talk about is the fact that we pick up on so much more information. I really want to slow it down to let you get it sink. So basically what happens since childhood, we are absorbing and tuning in the external environment so much. And this is for obvious reasons to protect ourselves, right? And you probably know this by now. But what happens, we scan the environment so much that we pick up a lot of information. And the flip side of it leads me to the second reason, which means that the attention that we give to the outside world, the outside environment, takes all that attention away from the inner environment. And the fact that highly sensitive people, and especially INFJ, are largely and fundamentally disembodied. Why is that a big factor? This actually is the biggest factor for having trouble in processing changes and dealing with change and not liking change in the first place, because it throws people like us off kilter so badly. Now, I gave you how it manifests, right? So going about business like nothing happens, doubling down on responsibilities as if nothing has happened. And when person is disembodied and has all their attention on the outside, first of all, what will happen is that they have more things to process, and it will take them much longer to process and demand so much more energy of their body to literally organize, categorize, and label all these experiences. This is what our brain does all the time, all day long, every second of our waking time. It does that all the time. Now, when you take in so much more from environment, it will have a much higher demand to do that, right? So it will take significantly much more time to do it. And if you are disembodied, if you are not present in your body but overthink a lot, overanalyze, get anxious all the time, it means you lack connection with your body. Like I said, this is a major trouble. It's a major obstacle in processing any change, because the body is what gives us the clue about what we need to do to process anything, to do anything in our life in order to get back to a sense of harmony, get back to a sense of equilibrium, get back to a sense of balance. And our body gives us all the time these clues. It tells us when we're tired. It tells us when we are scattered, when it's too much. It tells us when we are repulsed by something and something is not our fit. Our body is the first to signal that maybe this change doesn't feel right, or maybe that we have to take more time to actually deal with it, and new ways of dealing with new circumstances. If you've had that tendency in your past that something major has happened, or just any change has happened in your life, and you're going about business like nothing has happened, you might be doing things like avoiding grieving if you've lost someone. This is a major thing that we need to do, and do it and stop and pause after every change to let it sink, let it wash through us, and be with that. And here I'm already looking at the ways how highly sensitive people can deal with that tendency and deal with changes better. So definitely giving yourself time after every change, small or big, whatever change, pause, stop. Just let yourself kind of be with it. Look at the new environment, look at your life. How does it feel? What feels off? What emotions are coming up? What is your body maybe asking for? And accept the fact that it might take you longer. Accept the fact that maybe you actually are feeling that urgency to do something. And this is that very thing that makes it so common to double down, to go about business like nothing has happened and all that stuff. There is this urgency factor that makes highly sensitive people especially, but it's common for many people, to be reactive, which means not being present. It means like, I have to do something. So be restless and really not allowing that person to just rest and take that necessary time to be with whatever might be coming up, whether that's grief, whether that's sadness, whether that's disappointment, whether that's fear, whether that's just fatigue, and like, oh my God, it has cost me so much energy to make that move to a new location. And even though it feels like I should just focus now on work or finding this new position or maybe decorating this new house, whatever your circumstance was to, have led you to make that move. Just let yourself take this slowly, no matter how urgent it may seem like in your mind and in your body. Now, another thing I want to emphasize and encourage is how journaling is helpful for people like us, because this is a space where you can safely just dump anything and be present with it as you're doing this. It's been really such an invaluable system or tool in my entire life to have journaling practice and journal my brain out, my heart out, my emotions out, and my pain out on these pages, especially when I was going through changes. And believe me, I've not been perfect. I've been moving so many times in the last years, and I've been talking about my experience of dealing with chaos, dealing with that uncertainty that every change is bringing up. And over time, I've gotten so much better with this, but I've made so many mistakes so many times when I should have known better. And still, I have rushed this process too much for my ability. And this last move, I've taken things ultra slowly. And the past move, I was kind of in and out. I was resisting. I was putting a little bit too much pressure on myself. But this time I was like, no, I'm not going to make the same mistake ever again. It cost me too much to bounce back from that neglect of, what I was doing when I was rushing through that change, when I didn't give myself time to process, when I didn't slow down, when I went immediately to, do some work or, meet with people or do kind of things that I was not ready for, And what always happened when I did rush into these situations without giving myself space to process, my body gave me signals that I would not be able to ignore, such as my back would go out, I would get horribly sick, or something otherwise would have happened to like really pin me down to bed or pin me down to a couch or sofa or something, because it wanted to tell me, hey Gosia, you've not been paying attention, you've not been listening. And it would just sometimes throw me off like for a week or two and give me that space where I can no longer ignore the fact that I've neglected resting, slowing down, being present, being embodied, breathing, doing all these things that I just mentioned. I talk about INFJs very specifically, first of all, because I am an INFJ, and second of all, because this is one of the most extremely sensitive types. So if INFJ can pull this off, then other highly sensitive people can as well. Now, definitely sign up to my newsletter to learn about more ways how to deal with changes, deal with your reactivity, your emotionality, your high sensitivity, which is one of my specialty, and approaching this from the mind-body perspective, meaning using the energy of your body, using the wisdom of your body to become wiser and navigate your life as a highly sensitive person that you are.